because you always just don't when like
people deluded. I'm back again.
come on, Ian.
Come on, Ian, and with an introduction like that, I've got Cecil in the building. People, deluded, I'm back again. I'm rating the shirt, man, the Monaco thing, man. I'm rating the retro shirt, bro. Come on. I just wish we had him up front, bro. We might have, our fate might have been different, cuz. How you doing, though?
I'm good, man. I just come back from, obviously, AFTV has come back from filming today. Actually, just got back in, but I'm good, man. I thought, yeah, today Monaco top Omri. It's reliving some, the guy who I love, Omri. Just thought I put it on today, a little bit of a classic top. But yeah, no, I'm good, Deluded. No, do you know what? I have recovered. Obviously, the season's finished. I have recovered, but everyone reminds me every time I see everyone on the street. Oh, we could have done it this year. How yeah, I think for the whole of summer, that's going to be the thing. I'm trying to get over it, but people are going to be like, "Yo, we could have done it this season, next season." And I said this to someone. I was like, "Yeah, next season we probably will get something done over the line, definitely." But brother, it's the going through the whole process again.
It's the hope, man.
Brother, it's just, it's so exhausting. I know it's what we do, we love it, but oh my days, just go through all the emotions again is going to be exhausting. But this is why we love the sport.
You set this up perfectly, man, because that was the main reason I got you here. Like, obviously, the dust has settled now. What do you actually feel of the season? Do you feel there's a missed opportunity? Because again, you obviously interview a lot of people. It depends where people fall on the fence. Some people are very optimistic. They think it's a good season. Some people think it's a good season, but ultimately it's about trophies. As you know, there's probably some people that are negative, not interested, because our name isn't etched in history. But like, how are you feeling now? 38 games gone, no champs, no league title, no FA Cup. Where are you at, man? Like, now that the dust is settled.
Now that the dust is settled, like, listen, it's progress. It's not success. There was no trophies.
I like that.
So yeah, so we can't call it a successful season. We can call it definitely a lot of progress in this season. I mean, we hit records that Arsenal haven't actually seen ever, if I'm honest. I mean, we outdone our win streak when it comes to against the Invincibles. We hit a high in points. Our defensive record, the best defense in the league. Yes, we didn't score
second top scorers as well, man.
Exactly. We had top scorers in there. We didn't get the most goals this season as City did, but we were battering teams and we were flourishing, man. And like,
top 6 record was amazing.
Yeah, and if we put that in our whole, like I think we had the most shots as well. There's a lot of records that are broken for Arsenal in the season that's just finished, but and because of that, I'm not going to lie and say, listen, I'm never negative anyway, but to without reasoning. But I just feel like I enjoyed the season. I did enjoy the season. I enjoyed how Arsenal played. I enjoyed being close to the team in the sense of how Arteta's brought the fans close to the team. Right. I enjoyed battering teams, 6s, 5s, 4s. I liked having chess throughout the season as well because my team, my team are going through a process and a project that I can really buy into and really fall in love with. And the players that, I question the manager at times, he's proved me wrong. And for that reason, it gives me more trust in my manager, which I've also enjoyed as well. It's been a good season. It hasn't been the best because we haven't won it with trophies, but I have enjoyed the season. I can't lie to you. And then, like you said, there'll be people that were questioning, can the manager get it over the line? Should we really be enjoying the season if there's no, like, our name hasn't been etched in any trophies, or there's not there anything to kind of reflect when it comes to silverware? But for me, 38 games, City. Listen, we know how Liverpool feel now, man. They've done it for many seasons there. They've
89 points this year for us, man, and still didn't get over the line.
Exhausting,
it's so sad.
And I know we're going to go through it probably in the video. A lot of people will go to the Villa game. I actually go more to the Fulham performances. I look at Villa and understand it, but Villa are a good side, and I didn't want to take that away from them. I think at their place, they beat City that same week. Let's not forget that. They were in red hot form. We should have won that game though, or got a point or something out of it because it was a close game. But they got that one goal, and then the game at home we was just really bad on that day. But Aston Villa,
terrible second half.
Yeah, it was a bad game. But I feel like it was worse at Fulham. Was actually the worst performance I've seen of Arsenal. That in the whole season, they didn't turn up when they went to Craven Cottage. That's why I blame that game the most, because I'm like, that wasn't the Arsenal I've seen throughout the whole season. It was literally an anomaly of a performance. I don't know what happened there. So we dropped points then. Obviously, we dropped points to them at the start of the season at home. And there was errors there. But I think that's the beginning, start of the season was working things out. Turkish speaks about it a lot. Arteta was trying out new things, trying to get control over teams, be able to suffocate teams. It wasn't working, but he was trying to basically put it into play.
Experimenting.
Yeah, everyone being regimented, knowing where to play, how to be in certain formations and patterns of play. To then what we saw the fruits of that labor come in the second half of the season, where we dominated most teams. So the Fulham one, but it's Fulham that really got me this season. And people look at West Ham and Villa, and most people will look at Villa, but for me, it's the Fulham performances. But in whole, I enjoyed. I'm happy with the season. It's just annoying. Like I said at the top of the show, like getting back on because we didn't win anything. Now we have to get back on the horse as a fan and go through it all again. That's why I have to commend, as much as 115 looming, I have to commend City because 4p is
they do it a time and time again. Might even, hopefully not, but it might even be a 5th, bro. Because Pep might, that might be his last season. I'm sure he don't want to go out like that.
This is
crazy.
What I'm saying, and like I have insight that not many people know. Like I spoke to Nathan Ake literally this week. It was this week or last week. I said to him, like, I said, brother, can't you just give us one? He replied,
just allow it, one trophy.
Yeah, I said, just one, bro. He said, sorry, brother. And then I said, fair play to you, because you guys, I don't know how you guys get reinvigorated season after season. I saw Reece Nelson this week as well. There's content on all my socials.
Check that out, folks.
Yeah, man, I spoke with him, and off camera he said, like, they're a cheat code, really. He said Pep's a cheat code. He said that they have like a formula throughout the season, and they do it in periods, and it actually makes sense. So throughout the season, at different periods of the season, they have a formula for that period, and that makes sense because people will say at the end of the last kind of business end of the season, City go into a run. They go into a pattern where they get unbeaten, and that must be part of their formula. And listen, this was new information to me. I was quite shocked by that, but I was like, I suppose Mikel Arteta would know that anyway. He's worked underneath Pep, under Pep, and
he's been in the building, yeah.
Exactly. And we similarly have formulas as well. The first half of the season was a bit different to what we saw in the second half of the season, and we went on a run as well. So I think that is what the modern manager or the good top managers are doing. They kind of chunk out the season and say, look, this is how we're going to attack it in this sense. And then, things are going to change because teams might start to get aware of how we play and beat Arsenal. So we're going to change to this formula. Same with City. And I feel like if you really look at it, that probably is what's happening behind the scenes. And that was new information to me, like I said. So it's always nice to be able to give it on a platform. But yeah, man, everyone is just taken back by how good a Pep and that City team can be. Like, they can just keep going again and again. But again, I kind of diverted from the question. But in all, I've enjoyed this season. I need this next season. I need silverware. We all do. But yeah.
Nah, man, we'll get onto the silverware bit in a minute, but you're bang on the money, man, with the insight around Ake and Nelson. And obviously, it would make sense logically that you kind of split up the 38-game period into like mini seasons, probably from August to December. December, it's about getting to February to May, and then April, and then May, it's a shootout. And it's harsh. And going back to what you said, it's the levels, because ultimately we didn't win it. This is the dynamics where, beating the Invincibles kind of record in many aspects ain't enough in this present day. And if City weren't a thing, we've got 2 Premier League titles. And I do think people forget we only lost once in 2024 in the Premier League, which if you said that in December with that Baron run, we would have said you're having you're joking, really. You would have said you're either from the future or you're smoking something very, very special, really. So it's a madness. I think you made an interesting point in that. I agree. I say this on my channel quite a lot, in that Fulham away is the worst Premier League performance from us. We took the lead and there was 0 positives. There's been times where we've won games and could do better. We've lost games and there's some positives to a degree, like Villa. And I guess that's where we're at. We're at kind of looking at the fine margins. And I was thinking about that yesterday. Many people say the Aston Villa game, because at the time of what it came in, it could have been demoralizing for what it meant. I think we had Champions League that week. Obviously, the second half was poor. I look back, for me, I actually look at the Spurs game at the Emirates where we shot ourselves in the foot. I look at Chelsea away. And then I was really trying to think about it this week. And do you know what? The game I would say for me personally would be West Ham in the league, just because of the amount of shots we had. And it felt like Arsenal of old. We have a billion shots. We dominate all possession. Team street smart. They run away and kind of win. You kind of lightly alluded to it. And it's something I wanted to ask you. Yeah, obviously, you're not Mikel Arteta. You don't work for Arsenal. So it's a difficult one. But we always talk about bridging this gap on City. What is that to you? And how do we go about that?
Do you know what? It's an unknown, if we're being completely honest, because I don't know how good Pep will change up next season, have a whole new formula. I don't know what he's got.
Probably going to spend some money, man.
Yeah, of course. Like the obvious answer is we're going to have to sign some more players and strengthen in certain areas, which we'll get into in a second. But to really close the gap, again, I don't know what he's going to go with. I believe it's his last season. He's showing it, and he's kind of spoken about how he said, you know, it is difficult. I see why Klopp's going, and this will probably be his last season. So I understand this probably will be.
By God's grace, it is, man.
Yeah, for real. But I think to really close the gap, and we have closed the gap. We have closed the gap, and we only lost by 2 points this season. But to beat him, I think next season is. We'll go to the obvious the signings. I think we're going to need to get. I mean, there was word that Fabrizio said that, you know, Partey's leaving this summer, so we're going to need a new DM of quality. So that either get a DM, or what I think Arteta's going to do next season is revert to just a lone 6 and 2 8s in front of them. So that allows us to bring in like a Bruno Gomares. I mean, Turkish I spoke with today. He wants Frankie De Jong. There's many options there. You can get a Xavi Simons. You can get a few players in there, but I think you bolster that midfield because you have to. You have to get a cover in centre back because just in case Saliba or Gabriel go down. We were very lucky that they didn't suffer major injuries this season.
Yep.
Of course, Gabriel Magalhaes
Probably Benjamin White as well, really. The three of them, really.
Exactly. Obviously, Benjamin White as well. But I just think like those two, Gabriel and Saliba, we need to find a solid partner that if one of them goes down, they're comfortable and can still be solid in defense and protect David Raya. Then we move forward to like, I spoke to a fan today on the way back on the train actually, and he said, if Martin Odegaard goes down, what happens? He goes, we're screwed. And I said, you know what? You make a very good point. Because Fabio Vieira, you don't really want to. You can't trust. I can't trust him enough to go in and do what.
He probably puts Kai Havertz in the 10, just based off the ball stuff. If anything,
this is what I'm saying. So for me, you have to bring in a strong 8 anyway, just to cover that as well. So you either get a DM.
I agree.
Yeah, you either get a 6 and maybe an 8, and then last obviously we need a killer striker. But it doesn't seem like Arsenal are going to go. I don't think they'll go massively big on a striker. I think they'll try and look for a £50 million. Me and Robbie spoke about this young goal scorer. So then, because I think they're going to be sold with Havertz for part of the season, but they need something different. I think the way to win the league is always keeping the other team guessing, and that means
something Arteta has been doing for the last 2 years, really.
Exactly. So that's for me. That's it. That may not be the answer from what I see and what I watch week in, week out, and watching Premier League football. I just think you have to be so fluid in the sense of having different questions to teams. So City do it all the time. Obviously, the inverted fullbacks and whatnot. Now they've gone with like John Stones jumping into the midfield and stuff like that. And it's other like centre backs that can pull into the midfield. It's always changing and chopping and changing. To add to that, they have abundance of quality, whether it's starting 11 or off the bench. And then you never know who's going to start. Will De Bruyne start? Will Foden start? Will Haaland start? We don't know. So the team that you're playing against is always setting up for really the unknown, which is kind of what I've just
keep evolving, basically.
Yeah. We don't know what Pep's going to go with next season. So there's that. I think Arteta needs to get a bit of that. But again, to have that, you have to have quality amongst the whole squad. I think with Timber coming back, that's new questions that no one can really prepare for. No one's really prepared for that. I watched him in pre-season. He's a phenomenal player. Can play out from the back. Can do the inverted role. Can play centre back. So he can do all those things that the City fullbacks can do and centre backs, in my opinion. He can drive into the midfield from centre back or from the left back position or right back. So that's an unknown quantity. We then are going to need again some sort of difference. I think we're keeping Jorginho is a good thing to do. We sign him another year contract. I think that's a smart thing to do because we do know what we get from him, but also he's very solid and experienced. I think that's good, but we need a difference in that. Same with Havertz. Havertz is a good striker. He's an unknown quantity. You don't know what we're going to get from him, but we need another striker.
Definitely based on 2024, man. Really, like the turn of the year, Kai Havertz. I won't forget this run to the end of the season, man. And do you know what? I'm happy for Havertz. It would have been romantic if we won the Premier League. I know a lot of people, including us too, well, even if you were willing to give Havertz your support, couldn't really see how he makes us better. And I do think, I'm not going to sit here and say Arteta stumbled on it because he's obviously smart, he's innovative, he knows Kai Havertz. But I personally feel with Jesus' injury, with the injuries we had in the form, it kind of circumstances led to Kai Havertz going up front somewhere that he looks a lot better than in midfield. So I agree with you. I think when you look in the defense, you know, you mentioned it with all our defenders, you look at our attackers, they're all here for the long term. Midfield, Partey will get onto it. His future is a bit clouded. Jorginho's probably here for a season or two at max. Obviously, Smith Rowe, Fabio Vieira, none of them have really grabbed that left 8 or been given the opportunity. So I agree in that. I think we need to transform that midfield. And I wanted to ask you as well, because I can't say a bit of a twofold question. I can't say Mikel Arteta doesn't trust his squad because they're all here for a reason. But to me, it feels like there's an 11 to 14. Now, I don't feel that's sustainable really and truly when push comes to shove. I think when you look at the minutes, those are the players that kind of played. So I wanted to ask you, what would you say to that? And secondly, has Kai Havertz swayed your opinion about needing a striker?
All right, cool. So let's go. Let's run it. So the first question, obviously, the 12 to 14 players. again, this is funny because I speak to people that are very close to the academy players, the young Arsenal players, and I think they're listen. I can't speak on the whole. I don't want to do a sweeping comment on all of them, but some of the ones I kind of have spoken with or know of, they've said they are a bit frustrated in the sense of that. Yeah, you get opportunities to be with the first team, cool, like be on the bench and whatnot, but to actually break through is it seems like it's quite unrealistic for a lot of these young players. That's why some players aren't signing or looking to stay at Arsenal, like Raw
Yep.
Waters, for example. That's one of the players. He said like he obviously loves Arsenal, but he's looking to move on now because he wants first team football.
It's a business opportunity. There's no pathway.
Of
You have
course.
to do what you have to do, innit? Really?
Of course. So these are the things where you think, okay, the academy have had opportunities to be on the bench, but we keep swapping players. That like there's been Charlie Sago, Sago Junior, sorry, on the bench before. There's been the likes of Cozy Adubri on the bench before. They've had first team season Ethan Nwaneri, but they haven't really actually had the debut, which seems harsh because they obviously want to be playing it and they're young, but also this is Arsenal Football Club that are challenging for the title where it's
a fallacy.
margin. So you have to understand. So that's the one thing. That's one thing of the academy where that side's not getting the looking. But also I think you're alluding to the players like the Reece Nelsons, the Fabio Vieiras, those sort of players. It seems like Arteta just trusts the ones like Trossard,
Eddie Nketiah.
It's really Trossard. Yeah, Eddie, if I'm honest, yeah, he got a look in a little bit, but he didn't really play too much either.
No, that's what I mean. Like, obviously, Eddie has come in and done well generally across the last 2 years when people have been injured, but you're kind of just existing with the greatest of respect. It's like if push comes to shove, I don't, and it's for me in particular, it's harsh on Smith Rowe because he's a baller, but you're not really trusted. Like, I think everyone was surprised Smith Rowe came off the bench against Everton, but Smith Rowe, Fabio Vieira, Eddie Nketiah, it's like the sweets randoms. You're putting your hand in, you don't know what you're gonna get really. And I can't. It's a bit like what you're saying. I can't blame Mikel Arteta because we're fighting for a title, but it's not sustainable, man.
Yeah,
for me.
it's not. And this is why I speak to fans. Like they want the romance of Emile Smith Rowe, Haaland boy, and all that. We really like. A lot of fans love Emile Smith Rowe, but
same man. It's gonna break my heart if he leaves.
Exactly, but if we're being realistic, like going forward, these players. Remember, we also got to remember it's 100% profit for these players. The Emile Smith Rowes, the Reece Nelsons, the Eddie Nketiahs.
Yeah,
come from Haaland. They're the players that we make full profit on.
The Berefs and whatnot as well.
Exactly. So as hard it is to see them go, it's also business in the sense that, well, what do you want? Do you want to keep these players on where they might not be the difference when it comes?
We want to have everything, man. We want to win and youngsters and experience.
Exactly. Do you want these top players that can come off the bench that we've brought and make the difference? Like,
I'm sure City miss Palmer, but it is what it is to a degree.
That's a great example as well. There, Deluded. Like, look at Cole Palmer. Like, that's a great.
You're wondering where he was in terms of the City team, but it just shows how great they are, really. And naturally, as you get better, that's going to be a byproduct. Now, I would say for Ethan and Bukayo Saka, that you know better than me. I think every time an academy player comes through, you get the Sakas and Ethans. They go against the grain. Like they've kind of got that star, that magic dust, that kind of folding stuff. But it's kind of the rest, really and truly. And I think like what you said, I think people forget this is Arsenal. We're challenging for a title. People forget, as much as I feel Saka would have come through in any climate, Saka, Smith Rowe, and I know he didn't come through from Haaland, but Martinelli and to a degree Eddie Nketiah and Nelson, they got significant game time because we were a mess as a football club. Now we're half decent, we're challenging. Unfortunately, the cookie just doesn't crumble like that, bro.
Yeah. And the thing is with that as well, like I was with Reece. I was with Reece not too long ago, and I was just saying, I was thinking like,
big him up because he's in Jamaica as well, man. Big him up,
man. He is out. You know, right?
I see his Instagram. I was like, I want you to stay now, man.
He's going there, and then heading over to, I believe, Mexico after. So they're enjoying this. And rightly so. Enjoy your break, man. Like, and right so, but like with me, I've got to admit they're very good players. So it's not like, listen, you don't make it Arsenal, you're not gonna have a good career. Because for me, you can put these players, the Reece Nelsons, the Emile Smith Rowes, and Eddie's. Not that I'd want them in the Premier League as well, because it's going to hurt me to see them, and they're gonna be good players regardless of other clubs.
But they'll score against us as well.
Exactly, but I know exactly. So, but you're good enough to play in the Premier League. It's not. So I understand their frustration of, I want to be playing. Of course, they're young players and obviously want to have their time and have their run. I get that, but also, again, like you have to be at the level in Arsenal. For me, I don't think is the right place. But it's not to say that you can't play in the Premier League and still have an amazing career. A lot of these players are holding out to represent other countries because they believe if they get a run in a team, they can be called up to potentially in England or say. So that's why they believe it. They still believe they're good enough. So I wouldn't see it too much as a negative. I just feel like Arsenal have to move forward, and it may seem harsh because they are Haaland boys and all that, but I'm this harsh on Thomas Partey. I've had arguments with fans that, you know, they want to keep him, but I'm like, he hasn't been reliable. Zinchenko, Jesus. Zinchenko, I don't mind if he stays, but Jesus is another one. I love Jesus, love him. But if we're being honest, we keep asking for strikers every season, and his injury record as well. I wouldn't mind getting a new striker. So I can't be, oh, I want to hold on to these players like
Do you know what? That ties us on to a next
Yeah.
part I was going to ask you, yeah, because you just lightly said Jesus, Zinchenko. Obviously, is there any of the following names I'm about to say, is there any kind of willingness in you to give them another season? So that would be Zinchenko, who's got 2 years left and there's radio silence about a new deal. The Gabriel Jesus's, you've touched on it a few times, Fabio Vieira, Partey, and he's a bit different, but I would also say, well, Smith Rowe, and I would also say he's a bit different, but Martinelli, because his form's been a bit shaky as well. Where would you at with all of those?
Some big names in there.
Difficult decisions, as we said.
It's hard, isn't it? Because obviously I always get cussed for this because I like these players. But again, it's the Arsenal Football Club we care about most. With Zinchenko, I just think, listen, going forward defensively, I think he offers something different. I know people question his defending. It depends how much is being offered for him, if I'm being honest, and can be reinvested back into the market. That's the only way I look at. I'm not saying he's a dead certain to go, because I don't know what's going to happen with Timber. I don't know what Arteta has planned for the fullbacks. Whether it's Tommy,
a lot of moving parts, man.
Timber, yeah. Well, Kivior. I mean, he's obviously a left centre back, but he can cover that position as well. So it depends. And if he wants depth in that position, you keep Zinchenko. I don't think he will be on crazy money either. Jesus,
I'm giving him one more year, man. I know it's mad. I still want a striker, but one more.
If you get rid of Eddie, it makes sense to save a Jesus, but Jesus has to understand that you're going to be a number 2. I remember when he signed for Arsenal,
and you're playing out wide for me.
And potentially you might be rotated out wide, because I remember when he signed for Arsenal, he was like, I'm ready to take the responsibility of being that number 9 for Arsenal. I remember that. I remember it very clearly. He wanted that pressure, but sadly, brother, you haven't really reached that expectation.
And the injuries concern me as well, man. Are you going to get over this?
Increases are massive. He's missed majority of seasons, not just this season, of seasons, and we broke this up today in the video we did at AFTV. It's about Thomas Partey, because
check that out, folks.
Yeah, check it out. He was adamant that Thomas Partey is right to be moved on because of the injury record. I said, well, you've got so much energy for this, but what about Jesus? Because it's similar. Yes, he hasn't been here as long, but his injury record's pretty much the same. And he goes, yeah, get rid of him as well. So, and I've got to be consistent in that, because I think availability is the best ability. So if he goes, I'm not heartbroken, but I would always tell Mikel, or I'd always say to Arsenal, that be aware that you're going to need depth when it comes to attackers and different styles. So
people forget the champs is going to have more games next year as well, man. The format's changed as well.
If you're going to get rid of Eddie, you're going to need, I think you need to keep Jesus and then just add another striker in, but have him as an option. I don't think he's ever been the same since his knee injury. Let me get that in there.
He hasn't.
Really hasn't. I don't think,
and that's the biggest concern for me, rather than the form. Sorry to cut you, because it's like I can understand losing your confidence. I can understand not just Gabriel Jesus, but obviously when you haven't been there, other players have taken the chances in it. So you're on the bench. I can deal with if you're lacking confidence, the inconsistency in form. Evidently, as you alluded to when he said, I'm ready to take the pressure, the lack of goal scoring. For me, and I'm not a physio, I'm not watching you week in, week out. I hope you have surgery or whatever you want, but it's the knock-on effect in it for the knee injury, because you do look a yard slower. You don't look the same Gabriel Jesus that I would say really that first month to 4 to 5 to 6 where he was a revelation. And you are getting older, so it's like, as you said, we can't afford to carry people. But then I'm at the same thing, kind of what you touched on, in that if we finally got some stability with, players need to move on, but we finally got some stability. We can finally, to a degree, just cherry pick certain curtain raisers. We don't need to do anything with masses. But if we sell everyone, then we're going to need to bring everybody in again, and they're going to have to gel with what Arteta needs, and then we're kind of starting again. Really, I do think people underestimate stability. So 100%. It's one way I'm happy I'm not Arteta, bro, because I could have worked this out.
And let's not get it twisted. This squad believes in Mikel Arteta. Like, even the ones we mentioned, the players that aren't, getting a look in, they understand how good of a manager he is, and it shows with what he's done at Arsenal, and challenging 2 seasons in a row. But like, they buy into it, so we have to understand that. But again, like you said, you don't want to get rid of too many, because you put yourself, really take 2 steps back, instead of going forward. Because people, when they stop me in the street, like, we're striker off winning the league, but I think that's ridiculous. A striker, I don't think, wins us this league, but they say we're only like too few pieces left to complete the puzzle. And
I agree with that part.
Yeah, I agree, exactly. I agree with that part as well. But you have to, like you said, we don't envy Mikel, because you have to get the balance right of, well, who do I keep? Who is going to be useful in the seasons going forward? and who can I get rid of that's kind of just like you just said, just holding space. And for me, I want him to really be calculated in this because he has so much pressure to win a trophy next season. Because regardless of what happens, if you have these players, they have to be of quality to win, even if it's a Carabao Cup or a FA Cup. You have to win a trophy next
You have
season.
to grab something, man.
Exactly. So you're gonna need depth, regardless of what you say. You're gonna need depth because that Bayern game with the Villa in between and then the Bayern again was where people will say, like I said, we lost the season. But
And Arteta backs up your point because he said we look knackered. So you're bang on the money.
Well, there you
around
go.
them times.
Around that time. And to me, if you have the squad, if you have squad depth and can rotate properly, you don't see the tidings from the players and we can go on and potentially win the league. So you have to be smart with who you're going to let go and who you're going to bring in. So for me, if we're being harsh and being cutthroat, of course, I'd say you get rid of the Eddies. You get rid of. I think Fabio Vieira is actually a very good player. I think he's got
one more year for me,
Yeah,
one more.
I think he's got quality. I just don't.
Exactly.
I just don't know when. Like, if he has one more year, he has to show it this. He has to show it.
That's what I'm saying. I'm only giving it to him because you are Mikel Arteta's signing. That is like, I think you got quality and you're Arteta's signing. And again, players get injured. But if it's the same cycle of a little bit of promise, injured, then next summer, I think you're gone. And I actually feel, again, depth probably means Fabio has to stay, but it's probably a thing where I'm starting to look at, do you need to go out on loan? Because realistically, you can perform out wide, but you're not like Foden and Palmer and Bernardo, not necessarily in terms of quality. Clearly, they're all better than you, but they're like wide playmakers. You don't really do that, and you're not going to play ahead of Saka. You play in Odegaard's role in the 10. You're not getting that. 8, we've been over it. So it's now time to make a mark. And I think you're right in that the players believe in him. And it's a bit of a techie one for Arteta because players we thought that we're bringing in might not come in. Players we think are leaving might not want to go. It's very techie and there's a lot of moving parts, bro.
It's hard, Deluded. It is tricky. It depends how much, again, this is things we don't know. It depends how much, Cronkies are offering to allow Arteta to spend this summer. It depends how much, FFP. The reason why I'm speaking on this is because there is still players that we're all looking at the Emile Smith-Rowe's, the Reece Nelson's, the Eddie Nketiah's, but let's not forget, got it up here, like Kieran Tierney's still on our books, Nuno Tavares is still on our books, Lokonga's still on our books, Marquinhos is still on our books, and that's not to say these players might not get used, but those are the players I'm really like, okay, we need to find another club for them, we need to make profit off these guys, we need to make
sadly
money.
Ramsdale as well.
Exactly that. We even brought up Aaron Ramsdale. Like even him, he's going to have to probably find a new club as well because he's going to want game time and try and build for the World Cup in 2026. He's going to want to be at a team where he can showcase his talent. So those are the players that they can go and I wouldn't see a drop in what we have at Arsenal. But it just kind of depends on who Mikel Arteta brings in. But those are the players I'm really thinking of getting rid of. I'm going to put Eddie in there because I know he wants to play. He deserves to play. I just don't think Arsenal's the right.
It's just levels, yeah, unfortunately.
Exactly. Reece Nelson, I'm still questioning. It's looking like he probably will end up moving on. But I wouldn't, if he stays and he actually gets game time, I wouldn't be too angry. Emile Smith-Rowe again, it's hard because of his injury record. And that might drive his price down. So I don't know what club's going to
2 years left on his deal as well. Radio silence like with Zinni. So could we assume the club have made the decision? A bit like Partey with a year left on his deal. I don't know.
Exactly, but I don't think his price is going to be too high. So it's just like, do you keep him and try and integrate him for another season? Like you mentioned, he came on against Everton, which I was surprised by. But it might be a sign that, Arteta wants to keep him in his plans for next season, or just they want to just show that he can play and drive his value a little bit more up. I don't know. He's there. And I suppose those are the main players to really look at. Obviously, we spoke about Zinchenko, Jesus, depending on if Eddie goes, I think you keep Jesus. Martinelli, you said. And I'm sorry, I can't. I'm a big fan of him. I don't want to let my bias go too much, but I'll be real. One bad season, I can't say that means you have to go. I mean, I've seen players in the past for Arsenal have one bad season and they've stayed for
Let's just get back to it, Martinelli, man. Never selling my stocks.
Exactly. Granit Xhaka had 5 bad seasons, 2 good seasons, and look how we respect Granit Xhaka now. So if it was off one bad season, we get rid of a players. I know people say there's new standards here, but we'd get rid of. There'll be so many players that we would have got rid of before. But sometimes you have to just give them a chance. And that leads me just quickly is I know it's different because Martinelli's been Arsenal before, and it's just kind of like a freak season where the numbers have been really bad. But like when you look at City get players in and then they have a grace period of a season. Like, yeah, give them one because they're allowed
Mr.
that.
Doku.
Doku, yeah, and I always say that. I just
Well,
think
they'll
like,
finish the season strong, but he started it a bit slow, and you can
yeah,
afford to do that, like you said, in the City team.
exactly. And even Rashford at United, like he's had dips in his season. He's had good seasons and had a dip in his season, but I wouldn't say. I know now people are saying probably get rid of him at United, but I couldn't say
Some Arsenal
Martinelli.
fans want him.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know where I'm at with that, but yeah, man.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm either. And if I'm honest, knowing his team, they like the Arteta and Arsenal project, but I don't know. That's all I'm gonna say. But I don't think. Listen, it's very unlikely he will come. I haven't really made up my mind whether I'd want him here or not. He'd have to change a lot of his attitude and how he moves if he comes to Arsenal, because it's a different thing here. We spoke about, I think, before in the channel.
Yeah, we're not like man divided, man. Era's come to an end, and he's about to get sacked tomorrow as well.
There you go. So
What a guy.
but with the grace period, I just think like City granting that, and with Martinelli, it was just an anomaly. I think he's a great player. He hopefully will achieve what he achieved in the season before, those sort of numbers, 15 goals and whatnot, in the league. But we'll see. I mean, if he has a bad season this season, I think people can start to question things. But I don't think Martinelli's a bad player. I think he's just had not a great season, in my opinion.
Do you think like we overrate the need for another attacker? Because I feel yes and no. Personally, I feel we said exactly. No, because I feel at the start we were second top goal scorer. Well, we finished the season second top goal scorers, and we've scored a lot of goals. You know, Havertz, rich run of form, Trossard's doing his thing. Odegaard hasn't got what he got last year, but he still chipped in. Martinelli's return is horrible, but he did score against the big clubs. So I do think we overrate that. And obviously with set pieces and Declan Rice changing his game, there's some other goal scorers and people popping up. But I do feel, because I've said this the last 2 years, and I'm probably going to say it again in August, when you look, I feel to close the gap or whatever on City, I personally feel we need to answer some questions or eradicate unanswered questions. And I feel in the last 2 years, when the season started, you look at specifically the front three, so the winger, whoever you want on the wing, right wing up front, Bukayo Saka is the only one that I would genuinely be shocked it does not get a handsome return for goals and assists. That's not to say the others don't need to do their job. If they do it, it's great. If they don't, I'm not necessarily surprised. I feel there's a lot of unanswered questions, and ultimately goals win games. So it brings me to ask you, do we overstate the need for an attacker? Could we get away with it with another wide man, for example? I don't know, man. You was a striker, so you can answer this better than me, bro.
It's hard. I don't want the club to go into this window thinking we don't need a striker. So for me, because that in it, Havertz has done well. He's changed my mind. Okay, but Arteta changed my mind. Havertz
just don't want to see him in centre midfield. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. And he changed my mind because I never saw him as a striker. I was adamant. I remember saying AFTV, he's not a striker. I've watched him at Chelsea. I know a striker. I was wrong in that sense. However, we still need a striker, in my opinion. It's just something. Just even if. Yeah, we do. Because I think we get rid of Eddie this summer.
And what profile as well for you as well to kind of add on to the question? Is it a curtain raiser? What is it?
No. Because my thing is, the dream is Isaac. But I've been saying this from way back, and people are jumping on Isak hype now as well. Isaac, how you want to say it, for a while. Not jumping on it. People have floated it around, but I was.
You've seen the light.
Oh yeah, I was talking about it from day, and people won't really be privy to it because me and Robbie argued about it way back. He was like, "No, we don't need him. His injury record, blah blah blah."
You should have spoke to your guy Edu, man. Should have got that one done, man. Now it's 150 million pound rumors and that.
He is the perfect fit, though. He's a striker. He can play out on the left as well. He could probably go out on the right as well, but he can cover across, I reckon, the front three. Technical ability is amazing. Tall, athletic. His favorite players, Thierry, plays like him. Where's that 14? If Eddie goes, it's a perfect fit to just swap him over with Isak. That's the dream profile. Don't get me wrong. A wide player as well, for me, is fine. I know I'm getting greedy here, but I think
we need greed. Look how greedy City are, man. No, we need to be greedy now, bro.
Where I'm going, and I think the Kroenkes trust Arteta so much. I believe we'll get 50 million pound players in this window.
I'm on that. What positions for those who don't know? Obviously, striker.
And that's what I think we need: a striker, a winger potentially, to cover Saka and whatnot. A defensive midfielder, obviously if Partey's looking like he's going to leave, and the fourth one's a tricky one because whether you get an 8, I don't know. You either get an 8 or you get a centre back cover. That's me. I don't think you need another fullback. I don't think you need another goalkeeper. Or Ramsdale's going, but I don't. Some would say you need a goalkeeper, but I'm going to leave that for now. But for me, it goes striker, winger, defensive midfielder, and you either get an 8 or you get a centre back cover for William Saliba or Gabriel.
I'm screaming both, man. To follow you, I'm screaming both, man, because I need to see the midfield fixed up. Edu, you was a midfielder. Arteta, you was a midfielder. I think we've, in many ways, if I just do some lazy analysis, we've done quite well. We haven't got a recognised striker. We've got injury concerns, which people don't give Arsenal. Obviously, you know, we've got that left 8 issue. We've dealt with Havertz finding his feet. We've still managed to maintain a title challenge. And I just think we need to sort out midfield. In fact, I was having this debate with my friend. Yeah, my friend was like to me, in an ideal world, well, not even an ideal world, imaginary world, obviously we want more than one position, like you said, right? But if they said a game-changing number 8 or midfielder, whether it's a 6 or 8 or whatever, or a game-changing striker, what would you go for? And I change my mind every day, because strikers, we all want that. We score goals. You know, it could have turned some draws into wins, some defeats into draws, more points on the board. Me and you might be a lot happier than we are now. Yeah. But then I just want to see the centre midfield role. I just feel we're not going to see Declan Rice go up the levels. Well, in better yet, Declan Rice could accelerate going up the levels if he's got that partner. Him and Odegaard, I think, are being sold short. And Edu and Mikel Arteta, you were central midfielders. And I think there's more questions than answers. Me and you indirectly, we've spoken about Smith Rowe, spoken about Fabio Vieira. Jorginho's done well. I personally think we had to use him more than Arteta would have liked. Partey's a quality player, but as you said, availability is the best ability. So when you look at all of those things, for me, there's unanswered questions. Even when you look at the North London derby, when Declan Rice came off, it was an open game. Jorginho's in trouble. Obviously, the game state, if it's a chess match, that's Jorginho's bread and butter. We need a couple more players for me that, you know, we've got players that are called to the game state. If we need a bit more pace, Martinelli. If we need someone that's a bit cuter and got more gears and dynamism, then it's probably Trossard. But there's a few players where it's Saka, Declan Rice, Saliba, Gabriel. I believe Benjamin White and Timber as well, where whatever the game state, whatever Arteta wants to demand of the 38 games, you could in theory play all of them. I don't feel we have enough of those kind of players, bro. So I think we need that midfield. I think you're bang on the money, bro.
It's hard, bro. It is really difficult, because for me, the defense, we lock everyone up again next season. I feel like I'm so assured in our defense. It's scary.
What a partnership you've got, man.
Yeah, I just think, honestly, dude, I watched them tonight. I'm in awe of Gabriel and Saliba. Obviously, it does depend on if they can stay fit for a full season. But I just think that is where we're solid. I think you're right. Midfield is so key when it comes to, well, suffocating teams, dominating possession. But I want to see, and I'm stuck to know, do we just go a lone 6 with Declan Rice and get 2 8s, or if Declan Rice?
I like that idea, you know.
That's what, but I think that's what Arteta's wanted from the beginning. But I just feel like he's been.
Or is it 2 multifunctional midfielders?
Well, that's it, because he's been coaching Declan Rice to do the 8 role, and I don't know. Is that? I think he does the 6 better, but he's very good in 8. Let's not get twisted. For me, his
bread and butter is that 6, man.
Yeah, I put him as player of the season, but I just think there's so much talent that you can put in that 8 alongside Odegaard.
Make him a Rodri kind of number 6.
This is what I'm saying.
Even though he's not him, but yeah,
it's not that. If you put Declan Rice in a 6 and you have an Odegaard and you can have an Eze, a Elise, a Grimares, a Musiala, a Xavi Simons. Like, I know I'm naming out crazy positions here.
Young, and the list goes on. Cute Miners, etc.
Like those two.
Even Fifana, from the very club shirt you're wearing.
That's my, by the way,
20 million shouts as well.
A lot of research on Youssef Fofana, and I'll tell you, brother. Partey, if he's going, we're gonna be doing a video on AFTV.
Get him before the Euros, man.
Yeah, I think he's quality. I think he's gonna be an overlooked. I like Amadou Onana as well. This is more for the 6th role, but yeah, Youssef Fofana is a player that I think would be brilliant. I think it'd be unreal. But I'll keep diverting. But I still think we need a striker, but it's not. It shouldn't be like when fans say to me a striker and that's it wins us the league. I think that's nonsense. But
it's naive, man.
I just think we need a different option. But it's not to say we're not scoring goals, because Trossard scored, I think, 12 goals this season in the league. Yeah, he's like the Alvarez for Man City. Julian Alvarez scored, I think, 11. That's
a good analogy. I like that.
This is it. I know Robbie always goes to Jota, but for me, it's Trossard and Alvarez, because Trossard wasn't a mainstay. He was off the bench. Obviously, he got a bit of a run towards the end, but he was scoring
due that really.
Yeah, important goals for us. He was scoring important goals, and that's what Alvarez does. When our main striker, say the Haaland for them, I know Havertz is. I can't compare him to Haaland, but he was our main striker just in that scenario. When he's not there, we bring in a Trossard, or if Havertz alongside him, Trossard scores goals. I think we'll score goals. I just would like a striker that offers something.
But that's why I asked you, bro, because I think we will score goals. We've done it in the last 2 years.
I think we will.
Who though? Like, because I know Saka's gonna be there, but now that I've said it, probably has a slow season. Hopefully not. But the rest, I don't know. Like, I don't know if Odegaard's obviously didn't get 15. He got his goals. Martinelli didn't get his goals. Jesus got what the season before last, I think like 11. Then he got injured this year. He didn't. So I'm not surprised if they don't do it. I'm not surprised if they do it. I know people are gonna score. But in August, Saka is the only one I'm like, yeah, all right, you are going to be up there in the Premier League leaderboards and whatnot. The rest, I don't know. That's why I asked you that, man.
But I just think a striker will guarantee you those goals in the sense of, and you're saying who, of course. I said Isak, but I think that is a little bit unrealistic. But I'm just dreaming and hoping Arsenal pull
Been
it
linked
off,
with him, Gyökeres, Zertsky, Sesko, who I like, Tony, etc.
So I'm saying that there's a lot of names. If I'm being truly honest, I used to do more research on before I start saying, okay, he's the one. But the reason why I say the strikers, because yes, we can guarantee. No, we can't even guarantee. We can't guarantee who's going to be scoring the goals next season. We can guarantee that we'll score goals or create opportunities. But can we guarantee that, you know, Martinelli will score, like you said, 15 or whatnot? Saka's kind of the only one. But with a striker, I think you can guarantee that more than 10 goals will come from a striker because we create so much opportunity. We suffocate teams so much. We dominate so much of the ball.
Yep.
If we bring in a striker, then there's not really an excuse why you're not going to score more than 10 goals. I think we get goals from so many different positions on the pitch, but I can't guarantee that's going to happen. I can guarantee that we'll dominate games and create opportunities, which means the last piece of that puzzle is a striker. So, and saying that, Havertz is one of those. But again, I don't know next season if my man is going to be scoring the amount of goals he scored this year. He might.
I hope so, but we don't. This is why I asked you, because you just don't know, bro. And it's crazy. And that's what I said. I think we've got a lot of questions. I need more answers. Like, obviously, I'm not asking us to go and buy Haaland. I would love Haaland, but like, if we had Haaland, you know, he's getting the goals really, unless he plays against our centre halves. We need a bit of those unanswered questions. We know we can get X amount of clean sheets. We know, as you said, we can create chances. We can shut up shop. One thing I have liked this season is, you know, when we're amazing, we're amazing. But I'm sure you remember a few years ago, for Arsenal to put in like winning 3 points on a consistent basis, we had to be up there. If we're not up there, then it's not whatever. We can win without necessarily being 100% with the games coming thick and fast. And I think we've shown that. I think we've learned how to box smart. I think you look at the Spurs game, yeah, we can see the 2 dumb goals, but we box smart. I think the United game, it's like we go into games and we just do our homework. We know we can walk out of there, get a 6 out of 10 performance, get 3 points or whatever, and keep it moving. But this is now where I want to see what's going on. And this is where now I want to see how far the club want to go, because I know the ambitions there based on what they say. And for once, or the last 2-3 years, it's actually been backed up. But it's like, are we going to cross that line? We're flirting with success. It's like seeing the prettiest girl in the club. She's talking to you, whatever. Are you going to go home and Clark? Or are you going to whatever? Like, we're at that stage, cuz.
Always the question. That's always the question. I want to do this as well, right? I've been at football clubs where, and I'll give you an example off the back of it. I've worked with managers that, for me, when I was a player, just give people context that listen and watching, I'm a tall player that people always think, oh, you can hold up the ball and score goals. But I like to get involved in the play.
He's on the Gabriel Jesus thing, man. Only what
even though it's not my profile of thing, but that's what I worked on as a player when I was at a professional club. I was like, I want to be the full package. I want to be able to be strong on the ball, hold up the ball.
You don't want to be one-dimensional.
Yeah, I want to be able to dubs a man. However, I went to one club and they said, we know what you want to do. I know you want to take extra touches and run and beat players, but we can you can trust in your team to get you that ball. All I need you to be is in between the sticks and put the ball in the back of net. Just work within the box. I didn't like that. However, I scored the most goals I've ever scored by doing that. By the manager saying, listen, you'll be dropped or you'll get fined if I see you in the midfield trying to pick up the ball and drive and take on players. Work within the box. And
you just wanted the Batman settings, man.
That's what I wanted. He said, the ball will find you. We'll get the ball to you. All you got to do is put it in the back of the net. Score the most goals I've ever scored at a club. That is what I think Arsenal can offer. If we get a striker, we can say to them, even if they're not confident enough to that first season to score goals, Mikel Arteta is a good enough manager that I can trust and believe in to say, we're just going to work with you to be in this position. When the ball comes in, all you got to do is put it in the back of the net.
When the bus comes, get on it.
Exactly. And if I'm honest, that's what I think what City's done with Haaland. I think Haaland's missed bare chances. Let's get that. Let's make that a fact, yeah. He misses big chances, but he's the top goal scorer every season.
He knows there's another 10 on the way.
Yeah, because he knows, okay, cool, I'll miss chances, but I know my team are good enough to get the ball back in this position. I'll be here to score the goals. That's what we need. I think we can score goals from everywhere on the pitch. However, when we know there's a ball arriving, at least we have someone who's going to be there regardless. That's all they got to focus on. So that is my answer. I think Darwin Núñez is another good example. I've just got it here. He scored 11 goals, but it's not an amazing amount of total, but he had big opportunities. But all you have to do is just be in the positions and he'll get 10 plus. And
Facts.
I think we get that amongst all the other goals within the team, the Bakayos, maybe the midfield and whatnot. Gabriel pops up with a few goals from the back. I think that gets you over the line. We're scoring enough goals as it is, but an extra striker that all his instruction is to just be where I need you. Then I think that's different to what we see from Havertz, because Havertz isn't a player that he's not being told, I just want you to stand in between the posts.
He's being told to do what you said you want to do. Get into midfield, do your thing. Obviously, you're a striker, get about.
Exactly. So I just think that's a different option that no team's really seen from Arsenal. And I think that is the difference. But I don't know if I'm contradicting in my point when I say, a striker wins us the league. I don't think it wins us the league. I think it gives us another option.
It gets us more points, in my opinion.
Help us get to potentially win the league. But I just wanted to highlight that. It's a lot of questions, but I know how my standpoint, you obviously know yours. It just depends on what Arteta goes with and what they plan to roll out in the next season, who we bring in. But in my opinion, and I think many fans are on this as well, we trust him. And I think that's the be-all.
He's deserved that. I don't blindly trust anyone, but I think I 98% trust Mikel Arteta. The other 2% is reserved for, obviously, if I rate you so much, then and as we've done, all we've done is praise him. Naturally, I have to ask questions, because as much as I praise you for how you've assembled the squad, if I'm sitting here and saying I think we've only really got 14 players, then if I think you're so meticulous and calculated, I have to hold you accountable. And it's like, I remember Mikel Arteta, it might have been around January, February, March. He said we've got one of the smallest squads in the league. For someone as calculated as him, for a team that's aspiring to get near City, for me, that's quote unquote unacceptable. Now, as you know, there's external factors. We might have tried, but there's trying and there's doing. And I think, to go back to your point about strikers, you're bang on the money, because I did say in the December period where, there was a period we was having a million chances and we was missing and people putting their hands on their heads. I said a lot of that is psychological, because these players have shown they can score goals. They will go and score goals. But that's that. When you were saying your point, that's what brought me back to the December period, where if there was just a cold-hearted killer, even if we just got 5 more goals, but if it came against West Ham and it changed the trajectory, it came against Fulham, we've got more points on the board. But unfortunately, all me and you can do right now is just, it's all hindsight, really and truly. Like, essentially, man, like, it's not, we didn't get there. I wanted to ask you as well, while we're on the topic of seasons, before I get to the last couple ones to let you get out of here, first thing, who'd be a player of the season?
Declan
Finally,
Rice.
Difficult ones, man.
Declan Rice. And do you know what? It's not hard for me, because I've done a video on this already. Again, big up, check it out on the channel AFTV.
Make sure.
But like, listen, Gabriel Magalhaes and Saliba, I can never call between who was better. I actually pushed Gabriel higher than Saliba this season, even though Saliba's been phenomenal.
I picked up all them man of the matches in difficult away games. It's difficult.
It goes Declan Rice. I think it goes. It's Declan Rice, Saliba, and Gabriel and Martin Odegaard are kind of the mainstays. They're the main ones. I know Ben White's in there. People will say Havertz. I'm gonna go Declan Rice, and I'm gonna, because I've spoken about this before, but I'll go over the main points. Firstly, coming in with a big price tag, 100 million, 105 million to come in and just brush it off like it's nothing.
Nobody cares.
People saying, we paid half price. We're
seeing names like Casemiro and Caicedo, lol.
Well, there you go, and that's a joke to Declan Rice. They can't lace my man's boots right now, Casemiro and Caicedo. So like, I just think that. I think the fact that Thomas Partey's been out for majority of the season and no one's really cared because Declan Rice has been so good. I want to say the fact that we sing the song, we got him half price, crazy. We spent that's our record signing, by the way, and we sing him half price, crazy. Then again,
we do always have some money, man. We do,
exactly.
we do.
People talk about William Saliba and Gabriel. I've just done it. David Raya. They spoke about them being up there. David Raya won Golden Glove. Saliba and Gabriel being solid in defense. Let's not forget the player in front of him is Declan Rice, who makes their job easier. Don't get twisted. They've had challenges, but Declan Rice makes that job for those two defenders a lot more easier. So that makes me put him up again even higher. I spoke about City earlier, how they get a grace period when they get in a record signing. The Jack Grealish, when he got signed for 100 million, they said, give him a season. It's how Pep does. Declan Rice never had that. Man had
never had that. People are ready with the agendas from the start because it's Arsenal.
There you go. There's no grace period when you're at Arsenal, unfortunately. You have to come in and make it work straight away. And I take my hat off because he did. From the first game, he was levels. So Champions League games, solid, one of our standouts. Plays like he's been playing in the Champions League for years. So for me,
plays like he's been here for years, man.
Exactly. And I know I'm speaking very fast, but I just want to get these points out because I think it does really solidify my point of why I think he's player of the season. Also, the fact that he said it in an interview, I'm learning so much from Mikel Arteta. I'm learning a whole new role. He was playing the 8 role for West Ham, was mainly in the 6. He he plays that 8 role so well, and he's learning so many things that he never learned at West Ham. For him to be learning whilst being still the best player of the season for me at Arsenal, that's mind blowing. You're learning a whole new role, but you're still the standout performer. Like you hit 7s and 8s every game.
And without a consistent partner next to you, like there's been bare different guys, really.
There you go. And realistically, if I'm being real, first half of the season, Havertz weren't firing in that midfield. He's covering 2 man. He's covering his position that he's playing, and then also Havertz because he wasn't up to scratch in the first half of the season, and he didn't look stressed in that. Like his engine's unbelievable, his interceptions are unbelievable. Yeah, man. I just think Declan Rice, and that's not to take away from how good the other players have been. William Saliba's and Martin Odegaard's. I think you can easily argue them, but for me personally, I've had a long thought about it, but Declan Rice just edges it for me. Pick him up, still young as well.
I can't disagree with that. And I've actually said from the jump here, I think you'll see a better, I think 2 things we'll see. I'll see a better Declan Rice. I said next season, you'll see an even better one of him in the final third because he's had a year in that regards. And going back to what we talked about, you marry that with a consistent partner, you're laughing. It's difficult because I feel there's a lot of candidates, man. I feel Declan Rice edges it. Like, you know, like all the points you said, there's no point me saying it. Easily Declan Rice. And for me, more than anything, the big games, man. When we was lacking against Chelsea, you made it happen. Even against Spurs, when you gave away the penalty, you're seeing him go, let's go. I think I can't say he's installed a mentality because I think Arteta has, but he's complemented it really and truly. So I think Declan's a shoe-in, really and truly. I think people underestimate Saka, you know. I think it's boring now with how good Saka is. I know there's been moments, but I think he needs to be held up because he's done it again. I feel like the 3 boys in defense. I feel in many ways, I feel Gabriel is underrated. Not just with, I think in Arsenal fans, he's got his clout. I don't think that was always he's got his clout. He hasn't been, him and Rodri not nominated for Player of the Year, absolute farce, but it is what it is. Saliba, I feel there's been times Gabriel's been better than you, but there's also been times like we've gone to bare top 6 grounds and he stood up to be counted. And I don't feel Benjamin White gets his hail ups. And I feel definitely in 2024, I think Trossard and Kaya deserve some flowers of in particular, them two. More so, and I could even argue for me, I think internally, my player of the season would be Declan Rice, but I think it'd be Kai Havertz. You know, I know it sounds mad, but because I didn't expect that, like the expectations were kind of on the floor. And what you've bodied Chelsea, bodied Spurs, you've been one of our better players week in, week out in 2024. I can't take that away from you. Like if we said this in August, or forget August, if we said this after Fulham at home, we'd all have been like, boy, I don't know, man. Like you must be from the future again. You're smoking. So who would be like? Obviously, we got player of the season, underperformer of the season, then.
Underperformer is actually easy though. That's easy, bro.
Big up Odegaard going back to the other one as well, man.
Yeah, Martinelli's just quickly for the player season. What I judge or base it off. I know I gave loads of points for Rice. My main thing is
keep him flowing, bro.
My thing is consistency throughout a whole season. So that's why, because I think you're right. Havertz was a surprise of the season. I think he can be in there. So can Trossard, but for me, the first half of the season they weren't levels to what we saw towards the end.
Yeah, so Rice has been good from the jump. Yeah, you're right.
Exactly. Rice, the only people that can argue for the whole season, Rice. I actually think Gabriel Magalhaes, yes, he was dropped at the start of the season, but to me, that's still unanswered questions. I don't know why, but as soon as I always get these things, bruv, come up, some idiot thing, this and the thumbs up. But Gabriel, ever since he come, for flip's sake, Gabriel, ever
at
since
least no one was red.
I know, ever since he came from from being dropped, he's been consistent. So Gabriel, Declan Rice, Saliba as well has been consistent, to be fair to him, throughout the whole season. And Martin Odegaard's performance has dropped, but in the first half a little bit, but I can put him in there. That's how I base it. That's why. But out of everyone, there's more points for me for Declan Rice. So it's consistency. When it comes to underperformer of the season, it has to be Martinelli for me because it's sad. I love Martinelli. I've said it in the last video we did. Like he's on the wall behind me.
You said it on this stream.
Yeah, on this stream. He's one of my favorite players. He's on the wall behind me. Like big him up, but he had a bad season. And funny enough, you said Bukayo Saka for player of the season, and Robbie cussed me, and he cussed me every week for it. But there were so many games I came out where I was like, Saka wasn't that good today. But his numbers.
No, there's definitely been times where he hasn't been amazing. 100%.
But his stats and his numbers are fair. They can demolish my argument. But I just think I know there's more from him, and he can reach levels that you can't question how good. So when it came to Phil Foden Player of the Year, people are like, it's after the end of the season, like dead certain it's Phil Foden. I want that for Saka, and I know he can be that. So that's why I feel like I felt let down, because there was arguments of world class, who's better. Well, if Phil Foden's this, then that means Saka has to be this. But now, because of the season, how it was throughout and how Phil Foden kind of ended it, people are just saying, nah, can't even bring Bukayo Saka into this conversation. that hurts me because I know he can be in that conversation. So I need to see that next season. Not
That's
to
fair.
say he didn't do well because he hit numbers that are unheard of, but I need to see that in performances throughout the whole season where no one's saying Phil Foden alongside him. I want him to be the guy that's gone surpassed him. So that's why. So Martinelli's the clear standout underperformer. Saka, it seems harsh. It doesn't really make sense. But for me personally, I just know we can get more and we'll see
There's
more.
there's more to
Yeah,
come.
there's more to it and cleaner performances. And I want him to just be clear of anyone. I want him to be really that guy that puts Arsenal. He has put Arsenal on his back for many seasons, but really be the guy that steps up and says, "No, I'm the guy." Yeah. So there.
And do you know what? I think for me, it's two players. Unfortunately, it's both the Brazilians. You said one, you can't escape Martinelli. I have to give him some positive PR. Still scored against Liverpool and City, but
Yeah.
it weren't lit in it, and it just wasn't good enough. Martinelli, you're a quality player, and I think
He
you've
knows.
shown.
He knows as well. He knows.
Yeah, I think he's shown why you're not Saka yet. I think your potential is slept on, but you're not at that Saka level in terms of consistencies. And where I look at our front three, we've spoken about up front, big up Kai Havertz, but the striker, the centre striker, that's up for debate. I feel the left wing indirectly is up for debate. Big up Trossard as well. So I have to say Martinelli. For me, Gabriel Jesus, because he's a quality player. I feel Zinni could be up there because I feel Zinni scapegoated a lot, but I just feel there's been times where I think we know defensively he's not the guy, but playmaking, I think it's been a bit overrated. So yeah, man. I mean, you could say Timber or Partey by default because of injuries, but we're doing too much. So for me, it would be Martinelli and Gabriel Jesus. Arguably, I would say I'm more disappointed in Gabriel Jesus personally because going back to the point we said, I still think Martinelli has to reach other levels of consistency. I just think Jesus has been poor. Like I really expected a lot more. Yes, you've had injuries, and for me, like you said with the Saka thing personally, for me, Smith Rowe, because people run jokes on my channels and my Twitter. I'll always defend him. I always say he's coming back. Give him time. And I say not to sell your Smith Rowe stocks. But if I'm honest, bro, I'm looking at my phone. I'm thinking, boy, at some point you've got to get out of there. You got to know when to leave the bookies, in it. So I would say Martinelli and Jesus, man, really and truly, man. Do you think Arteta? Obviously, Mikel Arteta's rumored to sign a new deal. Do you think he deserves a new deal? And do you think it's a case of going back to what we said earlier? He must win a trophy next season, like must.
He deserves a new deal. There's no denying that, man. I mean, I've argued with people, the Arteta out brigade.
I don't know how you do it, bro. I don't know how you do it.
No, I try not to give it time, but like people saying raise your standards and all that. But I just think what he's done, coming back into the Champions League after 7 years, and it's been so long, and people will say, quarterfinals, there was a Bayern side that we should be beating. But I'm like, no one said we was going to win the Champions League when the first year being back.
And we gave a decent account of ourselves. We didn't get embarrassed.
We were going on like we got battered by Bayern.
And it could be better, but yeah.
Yeah, we never got battered. And then taking City, who, by the way, with the best manager, in this Premier League, well, arguably one of the best managers yet to be in the Premier League, you can't have a go at Arteta for being this close to
and there's been improvements. It's gone down to the last day of the season. There's fair enough having conversations. Can Arteta get over the line? That's a fair debate. That's where we're at now. But as you said, the last day of the season. And I also believe, as great as City are, and they've shown why it's a marathon, not a sprint, to kind of age your point, I feel the last 2 years, we haven't won the league because of us. Like last year, we dropped off a lot of points.
Yeah.
Obviously, the December periods come back to bite us on our ass, and maybe indirectly, some of the squad assembling and the squad depth has come back to hurt us. But it's not been as great as City can blow anyone away. They haven't blown us away. Player for player, like we can hold our own, but they're better than us. But we've gone as far as we can. They can. So if people say Arteta is not the guy, and they can show me someone that mimics what Arteta can do, and there's an assurance to get us over the line, fair enough. In the same way I like Bukayo Saka, if there was a player 20 times better than him, why wouldn't I want that for the club? But I feel people are harsh. They say on one hand, you can't get close to City. Pep's the big bad bully and this, that, and the other. Arteta, what can he do? Then you mock a man for not winning the title based on the points you also said about improvements and running it to the last day. So
my
madness.
It is. And my thing is like, cool. If we get rid of Arteta, don't get twisted. Big clubs are after him. Pep goes in the next season. Do you know my worst fear would be Mikel Arteta going and managing Man City and then dumping on us?
Exactly. Barca probably want him.
Exactly. Barca want him, and if there's links to Real Madrid at a time as well. Like, so it's not like you're getting rid of Mikel and then that's it. It's done. Like when Wenger,
we're gonna go like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that. For me, I just think he's got so much trust within the players, and it's his squad and that there's still more to come. He talks about a 5-year plan. This will be his 5th year. So at least give him his 5th year. I'm not, when people say about standards, I get that because I'll put pressure on him this season for a trophy. We must lift silverware this season. Of course, there's context to see how the season goes, and there might be.
Arteta's even lifted the standards, man, with
Yeah,
non-negotiables and all of that. So people, sometimes there's no logic to it.
There's no, and even in his final speech, he said you shouldn't be happy with this, that we haven't ended up, winning anything. But he says thanks for the fans and everything this season, but let's not be happy. We want more, still demand more. So he's aware of it as well. Like, I just think it's a madness. But yeah,
and the players are disappointed, man. Come on, they flirted with it.
So hurt. That's the thing that Reece said to me. Actually, said, "Bro, honestly, we're so devastated in the last game of the season, and the mood's down." And it just shows how much they want it and they care. So, listen, he's the man to go forward. I just think, there's pressure on him next season. If he doesn't win a trophy, then I will entertain questions and I'll entertain the conversations. But right now, I think it's ludicrous. The fans are saying, we need a new manager. He's not going to get it over the line. It's the furthest he's taken. Look how much money he's spent. We haven't got it.
We're going to have to start the whole project again. What if a new manager comes in and says, I don't want Declan Rice. I don't want it. He probably won't, but then we have to back it. And then we're going to have to start this all over again.
It's stupid. With Chelsea now sacking their manager and they're going for a rebuild. Eric Ten Hag's probably not going to last week and they're going to have to go for a rebuild. If they get a new manager, they're still going through a massive rebuild. It's going to take 4 years. Liverpool's just got a new manager. They're going to have to go through a rebuild. And then it's only Pep really left. And I think give him this season to go again, it's only really Pep in our way. If we capitulate completely next season and we don't win a silverware, then fair enough. But right now, it only makes sense to give him this next season. That's where I'm at.
That's where I'm at as well, man. Like, for me, I would give him a new deal, to be honest, just because it shows stability. I think he's earned it. Yes, people could say he hasn't won a trophy. I support Mikel Arteta. I'm by no means one of those Arteta sexuals that he can do no wrong, because I feel if I rate him heavy, I have to ask questions. And at some point, all this hard work has to mean everything. But I think there's more pros than cons to keeping him. Again, and I think sometimes fans have to just say, I support Arteta, but I don't know if he'll do it. I don't want Arteta to be at the club, but I don't know who will be the next one. I think there's too many definitive answers. If somebody could show me a next generational coach like a young Pep Guardiola, fresh out of coaching Barcelona B, and he wants to sign for us, and there's 99% likely chance we're going to win the Prem. See you later, Arteta. It is what it is. Like, that is it. But unless you're going to bring me those select few, it's a myth, really and truly. Like, it's a fallacy. So for me, give the man another chance. Obviously we're going to have to win something. I do have a lot of question marks, so I'm not really going to get onto him for the League Cup, but that was a disappointment. I'm definitely disappointed to not be in the FA Cup final. Fair enough, it's Liverpool. Champs, we just need some stardust, in my opinion. And Premier League, I feel, you're playing a super team in City, but I feel there's certain things internally we need to arrest and just, do a bit better. But there's more positives than negatives. As I said, for me, if somebody can present logic with, I don't want Arteta here, then fair enough. Well, I want Arteta here. But as you know, and you're at the forefront, you interview a lot of people, a lot of it is emotion. It's this emotional thing. It's like, get the man out. There's never really any reasoning.
Yeah, they want it so bad. And do you know what? I hear it. I wanted the Premier League so bad this season. I wanted the Premier League more than the Champions League this season. Next season, I want the Champions League more than Prem, because Klopp was in the league. Pep's was still in the league. No charges, punishment yet. So I wanted it that bad. So I get, and that's why I think what fans are just hurts. That's why they're questioning the manager. But you have to have logic behind it. Like, release the emotion at time and just say, okay, we've moved forward. Let's just not forget that. But yeah, I don't understand the Arteta hours, but I know it comes from a place of pain and wanting to see the team lift something. But again, it should be this season. If not, then I'll be with you guys. And well, not the Arteta out, but we'll have to see. It depends on circumstances, but I'll be able to hear and understand fully the points that they're making. But right now,
I'm with you with that. Like, for me, with Arteta, a lot of the things me and you have discussed about squad depth, positions, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to be talking about certain things at any point next season. That's what I'm going to be critical with Arteta. I think we need to be in finals. I think it goes without saying that we need to try and get this over the line, or at least, God forbid, but we're running it down to the last day of the season. Everyone's going to improve, a bit like last year, where everyone said everyone's going to improve, Arsenal in trouble. We are going to improve. Mikel Arteta clearly is a meticulous planner. I'm probably exaggerating, but he probably knows what he wants to do in this squad for the 2026-27 season, let alone next year. So we just have to hope and pray, go back over. I think we had 5 draws in the Prem and 5 losses. Just go over those 10 games and what we could have done better, because some of it I feel is a byproduct of us not having certain pieces in our squad. Some of it we just weren't good enough, and just go again, man. Boy, it is what it is, man. Now all we can do is enjoy the summer, Cecil, really and truly, man. On that, let people know they can find you if I let you get out of here, broski. Not that they need to know, man.
Yeah, man. Cecil Jee, Cecil_J bro. All socials and whatnot, content. Or a lot of my content's on socials. However, we are slowly building potentially for a channel. We're loading up content.
You don't need to get onto him, man. The guy's everywhere but his own channel, man. You should bring your own channel, but it takes 2 minutes to go after the game, man.
I know.
You interview me sometimes at the stadium. There's a whole leap of people there. All it takes is a quick boom and you're gone, man. You need to, man. You're letting yourself down.
I know it's coming. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. With content is a bit more, like you said, they're doing so much at the moment that so much.
One vid a week, man.
Kind of bids like that. But yeah, just that might be coming. But yeah, just same thing. Cecil_CECIL_JEE, Cecil Jee. That is where everything is on all platforms. But yeah, man, big up, man. It's another season. We've got to get back on that horse and go through the emotions again. But right now, summer is about to hit. Well, it's here. It just doesn't slow down for me at the moment. But it's good. It's a good thing. Very blessed, very grateful, and it's thanks to this community and communities across the whole of online and socials why I get to do all these things. So yeah, big up, man, and make sure you guys watching, listening, subscribe to Deluded every time. Hold tight, I love it, man. Big up.
Come on, my guy, man. I'm off to go and look on Google where I can buy that Monaco shirt if I'm honest with you, man. It's wavy. I've been looking at it the whole live stream. Like, yeah, I need one, man. That is wavy, bro.
It's nice. Me and Turkish were filming today. He said, brother, I was looking at the shirts like, bro, I actually like that,
Yeah, no, it's wavy, man. I need to get one now. I'm gonna need to get one immediately. It's lit, man. It's lit. It's proper lit.
The Omri 28, obviously, he moved to the number 12, but I'm looking to get that one next, which is also another sick Monaco.
Oh, you need to start a collection.
I collect your Omri tops, but yeah, man. Yeah, this
can't blame you, man. Start collecting Eddie and Ketty. They got the same number. No, I'm joking, man. But people, obviously, you found out where Cecil said to watch him and find his content. Obviously, make sure you're following him on his socials. Make sure you're browsing AFTV. As usual, big respect for Cecil, because whenever I invite him, he does try his best in a busy period to get, come on the channel. And it's always a pleasure. I don't bring people on my channel that I actually don't want to listen to speak football. And I really, I was quite calm about the season, but I'm even more optimistic sharing these thoughts with a fellow Gooner, man. So yeah, people hit the like button, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts, whether you agree, disagree. On that, peace. Safe.
You always use that active and defending. I think it's like.